Hey everybody, welcome to the Double Stuff Podcast. We're double the hosts, double the topics, double the fun. And I'm Sarah.
I'm Charity.
I'm Alan.
Ooh, a normal greeting this time, huh?
Yep.
She's just mixing it up, keeping us on our toes.
Yep.
Okay, so welcome everybody to episode 193. So we're getting this close to 200. We're getting really close.
Sneaking up to 200.
Yeah, I'm excited. So we're going to double the topics like we usually do, or try to. So I wanted to ask you guys, since we live in the city of Wichita, in the state of Kansas, we've been around for a while, kind of checking out cool places. So I just wanted to ask you, do you have a favorite building or structure or something in the city that you just enjoy going to, or you just like just look at the structure or learn the history or anything like that?
Sedgwick County Museum looks like a castle. That's kind of fun.
Yeah.
Yeah. Actually, both that one and the Scottish Rite building, they have a similar build or a similar style, which was I used to know because me and Cher did a video on that. Proudfoot and Bird. Those were the people that built it.
Oh, shoot, I'm glad you remember.
Yeah.
I remember editing it. Just don't remember what we talked about.
Yeah, they built some stuff in Missouri, too. I think they built stuff around the United States, so they were really a well-known building partnership. But that's about all I know about that. But, like, is there a place, even just for the look, or do you like to... I don't know, it's just me. Because I like the history of stuff, sometimes I just like to drive around and just admire things that's been around for a long time. Even though I might not have never set foot in the building, I think it's just really cool to take a look at it. So anyway, do you guys have any?
Isn't there a building like on Riverside where it looks like a castle too, like at Christmas Day?
Yeah, it's an inn. It's closed.
Yeah.
It's been closed for years, unfortunately. Yeah.
But I always thought that it would be cool to spend the night there. But every once in a while we drive by and it's still closed. So.
Well, I think it's closed as an inn, but people can still visit it. Cause I went there.
Yeah, really?
Well, I went there a couple years ago, and like you could walk inside and look around and stuff because they had it all done up for Christmas.
Years ago, because we've been driving it by recently.
I mean, maybe like 2021 or something. Like.
Okay.
But I mean,
2 or 3 years ago.
Yeah, but like people weren't.
I didn't know about it then.
People weren't staying there, but.
But I've driven by it since. And every time we look up to see what the reservations are or the rates, it says closed.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think it's open for people to stay there, but I think I just walked around. Maybe it was probably 2019. I don't, my sense of time is off after COVID. I can't remember what was before or after.
They do start to kind of mesh in after a while. I kind of forget too. I feel like everything happened between, if it wasn't in 2020, it obviously all happened in 2019 or a little bit after it happened, like 21 or 22. Now I will say there's a building when it was first reopened. I was out of town. I wasn't able to go and see the grand opening, but there's a hotel. Well, it's not a hotel anymore. It's apartment buildings. I think it's also like office space. But I think it's on Main Street, and it was originally called the Occidental, and it was built in like 1873. So, Wichita started in 1870, so it's almost as old as the city itself. And there are a lot of mini pillars on the outside, and it's done in black and white. And
I think I know which building you're talking about. Yeah,
and it started out as a hotel. But yeah, the fact that it's been around, it's renamed to Baltimore now. But since it's been around since basically almost the inception of Wichita, I don't know if that's the oldest building, but it's definitely one of them. Because it was like the first hotel that Wichita ever had, which is pretty amazing.
So it's still open?
Yeah, it's been rebuilt, refurbished. It's now open for... like I said, living space. I think there's office space on the bottom floor, and I think the apartments are up on top. It's gone through many years of being closed, and in the process of them rebuilding it got caught on fire, so then they had to extend it even longer. No. Yeah, so it finally had their grand opening. I want to say it was
Sedgwick County Museum caught on fire too.
Yeah, back in the 80s.
Or it wasn't the museum,
the clock tower.
The clock tower, the building.
Jeepers.
Yeah, so, but, yeah, and I like to kind of just drive around and just look at it, just to be, I've yet to set foot in it. Maybe if I ask nicely, maybe someone will let me in and kind of check it out. But, yeah, it's just, for me, I love the history of it. And just downtown in general, there's still a lot of buildings that's been around for 110, 120 years.
Wow.
You know,
Yeah.
And they have a different purpose. You know, they're not what they originally were, but people are still using it for, you know, like I said, office space or storage or something like that. So far I've done all the talking for this part, but is there anything for you, Alan? Like, I don't know how often you're downtown, just kind of.
Well, I'm downtown a lot, but as far as like interesting buildings, I mean, obviously the Exploration Place is awesome, and it extends out onto the river, and that's really cool. It's a great place to spend the day. I have been members of it in the past, and whenever we go as a family, it's a fun time. They do a pretty good job of switching up the main exhibitions. Sometimes they're and rightly so. I mean, it's a children's discovery kind of center or something, so some of it's geared more towards the younger crowd. Yeah. I guess what I'm trying to like the last time we were there, the main exhibit was how dogs like see and hear and how they're different than humans. Oh. And it was interesting, but it was a lot for kids. But a lot of their permanent stuff's really cool. I love the room with the miniatures with the train.
Yeah. Oh, I saw them advertise for that during Christmas, I think, or it's pretty recent, like maybe a month or two ago, where I saw them do that.
I don't think I've been to Exploration Place since I've moved here.
It's a good time.
Yeah, I've never had any reason to go.
You can certainly spend at several hours, if not a whole day there. But, I mean, then you're done. It's one of those things where it's, I don't know, they do have a lot of activities for the kids. They have like, right where all the halls merge, there's kind of like puzzles and things like that for kids to interact with. So it's fun, but as the kids get older, it's... Yeah.
Now, along the lines of Exploration Place, I think the most fascinating exhibit that I remember seeing, and I'm fairly certain, even though we were joking about this earlier, I'm fairly certain this was in 2019. But they had an exhibit from Ripley's Believe It or Not, if you're familiar with that.
I remember that. I went to that.
Yeah, and so it's just a bunch of crazy, odd, weird stuff.
I was excited because I thought that it would have a bunch of crazy, odd, and weird stuff. It had a few things, and then it had a ton of pictures of like past curiosities.
Yes, but they also had. Well, you can't really go too left field because it is still kids. Mm-hmm. If you're to go to the actual Ripley's Museum, it's weird because me and Charity went to. There's one in Branson that me and Charity went to a few years ago.
Okay,
and it's a Ripley's museum, I believe.
Did you believe it or not?
Ooh, I with all the stuff back then. I to be honest, I do tend to believe all of it. But one thing
it's funny without like the internet. Well, even with the internet, you can still get away with saying whatever you want and try to get people to believe it.
Yeah. Well, when you were talking about they had the stuff on the wall, I didn't realize like for each exhibit, I guess they do it for different states and stuff. So like the stuff on the wall was some believe it or not stuff that happened in Wichita or at least in Kansas. So because I was told that they actually do it depending on where they go, they find stuff specific to the state that they're in.
Yeah.
So I thought that was interesting, but it was weird seeing like actual shrunken heads. That was interesting. Then they had
that was somebody's child that you were looking at.
Yeah. With
unbelievable.
And then or not. But it was really cool to see just a lot. And then they had like the tallest man in the world. They had like a. It was almost like an animatronic thing. So they had him sitting down, which he was already pretty tall. And then at one point, the animatronic stood up straight, and then you're able to see because he was like 8 feet tall or 7'9" or something like that. This is back in the 1930s. So you're able to see how that stuff was, and I don't know. It was just really cool to see. So, but I know we were mainly focusing on the Exploration Place part, but I thought it'd be kind of cool to. Like I said, it's just the downtown area. So I'll give one more, and then I'll call it good. But again, talking about the historic buildings and all that kind of stuff, I think it's down. I think it's over like where Nafsker Park is, kind of in that area, because you have the Eaton Hotel, which was famously known for when Carrie Nation took her axe and just just hacking up the place. And then I think a little bit behind that is it's apartments now, because it seems like most buildings turn into either apartments or office buildings.
Yeah, my brother, that he lived in the apartments there.
Oh, at the Eaton?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
I need to, again, that's another one I've never been inside, but I would love to see. I mean, I know it doesn't look like the way it did during, 1910s or whatever, but the structure is still there. And again, it's just amazing that stuff is still standing there. But there's another building on the other side. It used to be the old Spaghetti Works place, which it was still in production or still in circulation when we moved here, but I never got a chance to go in. But it used to be called, about 110 or so years ago, the Wichita Wholesale Grocery Company. So I'm assuming in that area was where they would keep all different produce. And then if you look on the other side, there's a train track. So the train would come, deliver all the produce. They would take it off and do it like that. So you can still see a little bit of the ghost sign where it says Wichita Wholesale Grocery Company, but it's now a series of apartments. So, I mean, I like the fact that they've been able to take a different facelift, a different life, but I just thought it was interesting because I just like to see things that have been around for a long time. Amongst all the skyscrapers and modern buildings, there's still a few old ones that have been able to withstand a wrecking ball or, parking garages or something like that. And at least for right now, until further notice, it doesn't look like they're going anywhere. And so that's a bit of history that I can appreciate, at least locally, for stuff like that. So that's my spin, and that's my thing on Wichita buildings and history.
Okay.
So anyway, now that was Sarah's topic that she did all the talking to. Let's go. Let's go ahead and switch gears here to talk about something completely 100% different. So, okay, I tend to go down a rabbit hole a lot when I'm just researching things, and then I learn about different words or phrases or phenomena, and I'm like, ooh, that would be interesting to talk about for a podcast topic. So I recently learned about a word called skeuomorphism, which I guess is something I've always known about, but I never knew the proper word, the proper term for it. So at least by definition, the skeuomorphism, it means to contain a shape. So it's dealing with the object of something that is attributing to another object. So we see this a lot in technology, on the computer. We see like, on the desktop, you see like a trash bin, and we throw our files in the trash. But it's not like an actual trash can, but it's something that we associate with it. So we think of it like, oh, okay, that's where we put the trash in. That's where all the files go. And so you see that a lot on computer interfaces, which I thought was kind of interesting. So, but it's done deliberately to make something new, give it an old familiar feel. So I guess that we don't feel very intimidated by something that we're not familiar with, or at least we're associating it with an icon, with an image, because we're very visual creatures. So it says the most interesting application is the combination of both digital and physical, which I was saying before, to have a familiar experience. The digital world uses it all the time, so it's good for that digital access. So it's kind of interesting because I'm looking behind Alan right now, and we're recording our podcast, and the program that we're using, we're seeing a lot of like knobs and levers and levers and all that kind of stuff, when technically that's not really necessary because we're not really using that in that way.
Sure.
Yeah. So it's kind of cool to see, and I feel like it's going to always be like that, at least from a digital aspect, because again, it's just something that we associate it with from a physical aspect, for another type.
Yeah.
So I was just curious, between Charity, Alan, have you experienced or at least seen a skeuomorphism-esque type stuff in your everyday life, like whether you're editing or even just stuff on your phone?
I don't know if it counts in this category, but I was thinking like in cartoons or whatever, when someone gets an idea, there's a light bulb over the person's head. Does that fit this definition?
I don't think so.
I don't, like an object that goes.
It is interesting though. But no, that's just
that.
That's just
or just the idea like a that placeholder. That represents what an idea is, that a light comes on or something. Like, why not use a candle, or I don't know.
Yeah, I guess I was thinking of it like again, I'm still thinking from a digital standpoint, but like I think even through words we use it. Like when we say we're gonna copy and paste something, we're not we're not actually going to glue something together.
Right.
But the icon is still using like almost like a Elmer's glue bottle with a brush on it, like an old school thing.
Well, in emails you can CC someone, and which is carbon copy, which is an old term
for typewriters.
For a typewriter. We don't do that anymore, but
that's true.
So I don't know. Does that fit that category?
When we video somebody, we say we're taping them or filming them.
Mm-hmm. I say film. I don't think I've ever said taping.
All we're doing is technically we're recording. That's true.
Yeah.
I hear people say videoing, which I don't know if videoing is an actual word or not.
Well, it's accurate. We are videoing.
Yeah. Well, I also kind of wonder if I'm using it in the right context, like with apps, depending on the app that you're using, like especially if you're using like a recording app, like, again, going back to podcasting, or I see some people, they have like an interface where they do mix, the sound and stuff together. And so while we don't have a physical console in front of us, the interface looks like one. So that way you know where the volume is and where the gain is, and you can push the same things. Yeah. But physically, it's not that. But it just gives the look of it. It's something that we're associated with.
Yeah. I know people still use the term mixtape every once in a while. Like if they're talking about, because like they went from like mixtapes to like, now this is my high school times where you do a burn CD and like get a Sharpie and write the songs on it. Yeah. And then when everything went digital, it was just a playlist. But even the playlist is sometimes called a mixtape.
Oh yeah, you're right. Yeah, it is. So
that is if you know what a tape is. So that could just be a phrase that people use that younger people don't even know what a cassette tape is.
Well, they are bringing cassettes back, which
are they?
Which they can have it. I even when cassettes were big,
I've never seen it. Who's bringing cassettes back?
Where are you finding them?
I know they've brought the vinyls, but
they did bring back. Well, I don't know if vinyls have completely died off because you still want to have your platinums and stuff like that. But the records are kind of having a bit of a renaissance.
They're still hanging on, but I haven't seen a cassette.
Yeah. Now, I mean, at least here, I don't see that happening a whole lot. That's probably more of a New York or California, maybe more of those. But there's a lot of people that are buying cassettes and going back to making like physical.
Where do you buy a cassette? Like a Goodwill?
I mean, I'm sure there's some businesses that are still making it.
Yeah,
so you can get them
I'm trying to think of, because every once in a while, like I'll buy some CDs, some blank CDs or blank DVDs, but in that section, that's where you would find them. And I'm trying to think. I don't know. That's interesting though.
Yeah.
I mean, if people want to use it, I guess it's still
fine. Yeah. Both VHSs and cassettes always frustrated me because the film gets eaten up or gets twisted or gets and so I was happy once DVDs and CDs were becoming popular because I'm like, good, I don't have to deal with trying to stick the finger or your pencil and the
physical media anymore. It's just a file.
Yeah.
This is a whole other topic, but I am
like this year. I think we talked about this, that Netflix discontinued their mail-in for DVDs,
which I didn't even know they were still doing that.
Yeah, I didn't know they were still. I think that ended. It was either last year or 2022 when they officially decided to stop doing.
Well, there's still a large majority of the country that that only has like direct satellite link for internet, so streaming just isn't an option. So if you want to watch a movie, you got to still put on like a DVD or something like that. Yeah.
So we did rabbit trail a bit.
Yeah. I know both Charity and Alan had some extra information to kind of, I guess, show some more physical examples of skeuomorphism in everyday life.
Okay, here you go. You guys ready?
Mm-hmm.
I'm prepared.
All right. So, electric candles. Now, we have seen that, and they are...
Electric candles?
It's where you kind of have like a paper flame, that there's like a fan that blows them.
Yeah, okay.
So you still kind of get the flicker effect, but it doesn't... Or sometimes you see it like in sconces on the wall to kind of give it the flame, give the impression that there's a flame, but there's not. Also, handles on tiny glass syrup bottles.
That's wait, what?
Well, it's a likening to like nobody's going to buy a jug of molasses or a jug of syrup anymore, or you used to get these things in jugs because they would keep.
Yeah.
And you would buy it in bulk and then just get what you needed out of it or something like that. But
so now it's just for decoration.
It's just decoration.
For the aesthetic.
Look. Oh, okay.
Yeah. Which I feel like that's pretty common. Yeah, if you want to give it that old school look, you'll make it shape. Kind of with the electric candles, I've seen those like lanterns.
But it's not like you're not going to use it. I think even if you had a little handle, you could still.
I mean, you would use it as like a pour, but it wouldn't be like.
There's an old style mustard. I can't remember what it is, but it's in every store.
Looks like a little barrel.
Yeah, and it's almost like a little tiny mug. I mean, but you could still use it, but I don't know who would use.
Fancy mustard. I have no idea.
I was going to say okay. I was thinking
next time
different.
you go into like the
mustard.
No, it's not. It's super cheap, and it's just. It used to be in diners and stuff but you would scoop it out with a spoon. That was before.
Oh, Grey Poupon. That's
well.
fancy
now everything is processed to the point where it's practically liquid, and then you just shoot it out of a squeeze bottle. So, but it used to be like condiments were spooned onto their whatever you wanted it delivery device, cracker, bread, toast, whatever.
Yeah, I think it's just more just for that look and feel. Yeah, because it's not really it doesn't serve a practical purpose. It just serves that's a nice look kind of purpose.
Yeah.
What about you, Chair?
You already listed mine off earlier.
I don't think I did.
You talked about the floppy disk, which was on my list. I didn't say anything about floppy. I said the trash bin. Well, that was on trash cans on here. You talked about the glue icon already.
Well, you can talk about the floppy.
I think I might have only just given those two examples.
Okay.
Do you guys remember using floppies?
Oh yeah. We use floppy disk. I mean,
I never used it. My dad had it, so I knew what a floppy disk was, but I don't think I've ever used one.
I can remember I had a faculty. I was a part of a faculty that had some amazing resources as far as knowledge goes. And one of the teachers that were in my department when I was teaching college showed me the very first version of Pro Tools.
Oh.
And it was a little bin that he had, and it was a series of 10 3.5-inch floppies. So this was at first the floppy disk was like the 5-inch square, whatever, and it was floppy. Mm-hmm. And then the next iteration was that 3.5-inch. It was like almost a cartridge. It was hard cased, so it didn't flop anymore, but it was called a floppy, and it was Pro Tools 1 through 10. And if you wanted to use that application at different parts of use, and I don't know how this would work, you would eject a disc and put in another disc. And I don't know if it would have been okay, I've just laid down my track. Now I need some effects, so I'd have a disc for effects or something.
For every
probably, because I can remember if you wanted, we take for granted just like music beds or instrumental libraries and things like that. But if there was a point where it wasn't an online library that you could just go in, find your music and download it. It was it had to come to you, and then whatever was in that set of discs or it could have been tapes or whatever, that's all that you had. You didn't have the ability to choose from thousands, tens of thousands, an unlimited amount, and the idea of searching for that music, I want, I want Slavic music, traditional, instrument only, or no vocals or things like that. You were just at the mercy of whatever came in the mail.
Oh, see, so we just use floppies to save. So I never used it as software. Yeah, like a CD-ROM almost. And I don't think I don't remember using it for that. So you definitely have more experience with that than I did with that. Yeah. But again, I guess I could still work in terms of the skeuomorphic things because even though we don't use a floppy disk, it's still part of the iconography of the computer. So we still associate that with saving. So there's another one of those.
I wonder if there's still a way to get that information off, because I think my dad still has some of his old, like he might have one or two hanging
It's gone.
around.
It's
if
gone.
There's a way to get some of that. I don't think there's anything important on it, but I think he still has a couple.
I'm sure there's something. We still have stuff that we can use to convert like actual film to digital. So surely there's got to be something that can convert stuff that's on a floppy.
Oh no! It was kind of the original fidget spinner too, because you would just slide the aluminum cartridge and then let it snap. Just keep snapping it.
Oh, I didn't know.
Oh, well, I don't know if
apart?
Well, no, I thought you would save it so that way.
So it came to protect the disc that was inside of it. Mm-hmm. It had this aluminum like sleeve, and then when you insert it into the computer, it would move it over, and then it could write on the disc. But when you ejected it, it was spring loaded, so it was kind of the original fidget spinner. I just remember just like
playing with it,
constantly just snapping it back and forth all the time. Anyway.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, we learn something new every day. So I don't know if we really even talked about skeuomorphism in the correct way,
we
but
did a little bit. Yeah. We at least learned what it wasn't.
Yes, we learned what it wasn't, and we learned a new word with multiple syllables. So, guys, this is our random Wichita building skeuomorphism topic episode for today. So we have almost 200 episodes that you can binge listen, so please do that. You can take a listen on our website, which is doublestuffpod.com. Of course, we're available on all different podcast platforms, and of course on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube, and of course on Twitter X at DoubleStuffP, and that's the letter P.